Hello, it's me again. No racing this weekend, first weekend of October, and we had discussed sitting out on this one, so we set out for this weekend. It's been kind of nice. Had a couple days at home. That was nice. Came in and did a little bit of work Friday. Back in on Sunday right now, do a little bit more work, and we got both cars up in the air. So we got Elvira up in the air, which pretty hopeful. Maybe see this one making some passes here soon. And got old fuddy-duddy race car up in the air right now. So obviously last time we had that one out, made a good pass, but driver left too early. So I made a to-do list for that one, and we've accomplished some of it, but since we weren't racing this weekend, I slacked off on most of it. So it's got some work to be done to it before heading down to Mr. Whipple's no prep at Yellow Belly. So that's this coming weekend, and we'll have this one entered into just small tire, unless they do a run what you brung Friday night. I was kind of confused on their scheduling. They've got a couple classes. They've got a run what you brung Friday night, and we thought about doing that one because I've got that 28-105W on it. I thought it'd be nice to get some more passes on that tire, but it kind of depends on what all's there. We know the junkyard dude's supposed to be there, and if he jumps a big tire, unfortunately, there's no real beating that car unless something breaks on big tire. And I may do some passes anyways. I don't know, we'll see. But we're also maybe doing small tires first round Friday night and then the rest of it on Saturday, and this seems kind of foolish. I don't think the car count's going to be in the 60 plus range, and when it's over 60 cars, it's nice to be able to split it up and do first round one night and the rest of it next day, but I don't see it being that big. Now, Little Gangsters, since they're having that class this weekend, I could see that class being that big. So, and I hope it is. I hope 530 is ginormous. So, one of these days, I would love to get this one done, old Elvira, and the goal would be to get her competitive in 530, as well as being able to do daily driver, all the daily driver classes, and True Street. So I don't think she's quite True Street fast, or may not be True Street fast, but I think daily driver, extreme daily, I think it'll be plenty fast for that. So not a whole lot of dailies out there can go 530s and faster. So some of the changes we've done to old Elvira here is we kind of just kept moving the radiator until the Pro Charger fit with the volute on. So this is the 4th gen F body bracket kit that now has an integrated tensioner, which for the longest time did not have a spring-loaded tensioner in it. And we opted for a 10 rib setup. So this is what we ran on the race car when we ended up having that hub issue. To help with the hub issue, I have ordered from Australia the Joe Blow billet timing chain cover kit that has a support bearing. And I don't have it here yet. It was supposed to be here Friday. But there's been some shipping delays across the country. And that prevented that from being here. Let's see if I can. I'm trying to find our hub. Oh, here we go. Look at the crank hubs. Okay. So this is the crank hub that broke. You can see there's half a keyway in it still. And this hub, well, both these hubs we had modified. So this one here, you can see there is a slot for the keyway here, and then there's a half moon up here. Well, the half moon is your Pro Charger pinning kit that we do on a lot of stock vehicles that have no keyway, and it works pretty good. So we had that in here, which on these HDT driven hubs, they have this gear pressed on, and because of that, they end up moving the mounting face of this hub way forward, about an inch and a quarter, inch and a half forward. And that's a lot of pulley to drill through. But anyways, we had a drill slot all the way back to here, so we could put in a 1/4 inch solid pin with our keyway. And as you can see, it cracked the hub and then lost its press fit and then spun the hub on the front of the crankshaft. So because the front of the crankshaft goes to that slot right there. I'm just gonna hold this in my armpit. Actually, you know what? I put this on a tripod for a reason. I just forget that it's on a tripod. So let's flip these legs out. Okay. Oh gosh, about dropped it. All right. So, where was I at? Okay. So you can see in here, maybe you can, maybe you can't. There's a notch or a rib, and that is where the crankshaft stops. So crankshaft stops like right here, then all of this is outside. Okay, so what this Joe Blow timing chain cover kit's supposed to do, which this drive face here is where your removable ATI balancer shell goes on. So that guy slides on there, like so. There's an indexing hole, but anyways, it slides on there. Okay. So what Joe Blow has done is they have taken a hub and they have machined this sucker for dual keyways in it, so we don't have to drill a pin, but we don't have a slot on the crankshaft yet, so I'll get into that in a second. And then they end up running a bearing, a support bearing out here, and that bearing is held by the billet timing chain cover. So now instead of just the main engine bearing being back here holding the front of the crankshaft, we'll have one out here very close to the balancer shell. And then since we run a 12 rib pulley bolted to the balancer shell, this guy, which it spins and indexes on here. There we go. And it's got a couple bolts. And then I'm on the wrong holes, so I went right through. Oh wait, it's because it actually bolts into the hub. My bad. It goes into that guy. So I am in the right holes, just there's no threads there yet because the hub's not on there. Okay, so this gets bolted to the face. This is on here. And then about right here, we'll have a bearing. So we'll have some support right on top of and beyond the keyways or slotted hole that was on here before. So, but from what I understand, the new hub assembly will have dual keys, and a 1/2 or a 1/4 inch roll pin's not going to do the trick on that. So what we're going to do is, let's see, here we go. Okay, we got this guy, which you use to put pins in perpendicularly instead of parallel to the crankshaft center line. So it's a drill fixture from ATI, slides onto the keyway from the timing chain gear, and once that's on there, it then locates a few 3/16 dowels. So I'm debating on how I'm going to do this. So, because typically that keyway on the ATI hub goes on this guy, or I can rotate everything forward about 30-40 degrees here, and I could put in 2 new pins. The key, which here's what's left of the key from the one that spun. The key originally is not very big. It's pretty small. And I have not seen any hardened ones, and they all seem pretty soft. And you can see that, I mean, this guy here just got pinched right off. So I think what I'm gonna do is abandon our keyway and drill and put these 2 roll pins in for the new hub. And then with that extra support on there, that should keep everything true and supported, and hopefully happy and the world goes round and the power gets put to the crankshaft pulley and then it goes to the blower. So that's my hope. That's my plan. If it gets too bad, then I might just weld the crankshaft balancer hub to the crankshaft, because that is sometimes what I do, is just weld it. Probably not, but I might. Okay, so may notice I had an aluminum prop over here. So the streetcar, I've got everything to put methanol on it. I got some ideas on how to make it meth injection. But for now, we're going to stick with the 85. And although a lot of people do a lot of non-intercooled 85 out there, me as a tuner do not recommend that. Because me as a tuner also learned through failure early on with my own projects that non-intercooled 85 can work on lower compression, basically huge tuning window motors. So lower compression, right camshaft, and IAT control. You got to have the intake air temps down. And I've found that magical little number to be right at 238 to 245 is when your ring pack on your pistons would liquefy. Anything over that, well, this is also with a GM intake air temp sensor, which comparing one of those to a Rife intake air temp sensor is drastically different. The Rife will rise so much faster and read so much more accurately. So you could probably fudge it to like 250 on a Rife sensor pretty easy, 250, 260, but on a GM IAT sensor, yeah, anything over 230, you're pretty much imminent piston ring damage. The, gosh, I had 3 408s melted like that. Then I had a 317 headed Gen 353 that we literally could shove 30 plus pounds of boost down with unlimited timing on non-intercooled 85 and it wouldn't get hurt. But we were so out of the turbos didn't make that much heat. They'd make like 240 tops on that combo. They just didn't have enough. We were way off the surge map, is what it ended up being. But they're like some Master Pro, no, what were they? MP70s? I can't remember the name of that brand anymore. Some turbo company out of Brazil that was all the rage for cheap turbos, you know, long ago. Well, anyways, that motor never blew up, but I blew up a lot of nice motors. So all around 10, 11 compression, depending on the rebuild at the time and what pistons I get my hands on. So think about non-intercooled, intake air temp is your enemy. Do whatever you gotta do to lower that. So, pre-injection works a little bit on that. So we did a lot of E85 pre-injection back in the day. And I found that it took almost 30% of my total fueling had to be actually pre-injected in order to get the IAT down enough, controllably enough to only gain about 80 degrees of intake air temp over a run. And that's great until you get into round 3 or 4 on a hot summer day and you weren't able to get your motor cool enough and then you still nip it. Because it always gains that much temperature. On my combination it did. I've had other combinations that gain 120 degrees of intake air temp every pass it makes. So, you know, if your starting temperature is 150, 160, you're gonna be too hot and you're gonna be melting stuff at the end of the run. So, anyways, back to where I was going with all this, is even though it adds weight, we're doing an intercooler. So I had a single Type 15 from the single turbo setup on this car, and I had ordered another one because I was going to do twins on it because I thought Megan wanted Elvira to have big old tatas and have twins on her, and she's like, "Yeah, I want a pro charger." She wasn't bratty like that at all. Everybody can remember the footage from when I tried to unveil the twins on the car, and she was very disappointing. So then later that week I ordered a pro charger. So anyways, what I did instead of buying another intercooler is I put 2 together. And that has been a process. So we had to cut the end tanks off, which these are end tanks that are on there. Because I wanted to do a 4-inch inlet and outlet on the car. So I've never made a sheet metal top for anything before in my life. So This was the first trying to bending the aluminum and fitting into place and kind of cutting and putting everything kind of into place. And although I'm not real ecstatic about how nice the welds came out, I may run back over these, you know, because pretty welds matter. They're functional. It's sealed. It's good to go. It's good to rock. And we had to turn a little welder up pretty high to weld everything. So, which for the last month or so, I've been using this Vulcan 250 or 205 Pro TIG. And I did have I got it back now. I had an Everlast 225 MTS, the multi-process welder that I went with. Since we downsized shops, went from a ginormous TIG and a giant MIG that I used to have to this little all-in-one machine, which I'm pointing at this hood because it's in this box behind this hood now. But it was nice because it was a dual process welder and 2 different gas hookups, and you just flip the switch and press the process you wanted to, and it did pretty much everything else for you. Well, anyways, I melted that sucker down in 7 months of ownership. So it went into Everlast and they warranted it and sent me another one. So, but I couldn't stop welding. I had stuff to do. So I got this Pro TIG, and this guy's I've been actually super impressed with. Extremely impressed. Welds really nice, very simple to set up. And although that aluminum there doesn't look very nice, there has been other aluminum projects that I've done with this machine that actually look really, really good. So it welds aluminum much easier than the Everlast did. So, and I've messed with the balance rates on that one and cleaning rate and stuff like that. And it doesn't seem like you can make too much of a bad decision on that versus that machine. It was pretty important, and I was dialing them in quite a bit all the time or using the auto set, and that seemed to work. So anyways, this intercooler is going to get set into this giant hole right here. So luckily we have a rack and pinion conversion on this car. So setup I came up with a couple of years ago. And yeah, the intercooler bolts in and kind of fills in this area here and stiffens it back up when it goes in. So I like to make clearance for parts and then use that part that goes in there as the structural reinforcement piece. It's kind of thing that goes on my head some days. So the Pro Charger will discharge directly into the intercooler, and then it'll do its cooling thingy, and then it'll come out and go into the charge pipe, where I've got dual fast action race valves and a little nitrous, just in case, you know, in case they can't run 530s on boost only. I really hope it can. I really, really, really do. So I think it can. Maybe not on the street, you know, where traction is limited, or like on the back of the track stuff, but I think this will be a good combo. I think it's gonna make the power, I think it'll still make 1,000 plus in this chassis over the race car. Yeah, because race car made about 11. So I don't think we're gonna lose that much. I think intercooled air, E85, headers, you know, we only got a 3-inch collector. If we had a 3.5-inch collector option, I would have done that, but on the 3rd gen swaps, the biggest header I could find was a Stainless Works 2-inch primary, 3-inch collector, and then that'll all go into a single 4, which is our old 3. It'll go into a single 4 and go out the back, and I've got a Spintech muffler, like their 6000 series, which is supposed to be really, really quiet. So I really don't like loud cars, even though that one there is absurdly loud. I personally do not like loud cars. So I want to be able to race this one without earplugs, hopefully. But I've also got loud valves to put on there, which are boost actuated cutouts, which I think I can find those real fast. I think those are over here somewhere. I think they're over here. Maybe not. Maybe they got moved. I might have put them up. I got an Elvira shelf that's got more parts on it. But the goal is to use the full exhaust all the time, but if there is a power difference, then I'm going to install these loud valves, which will be boost actuated. And anytime it gets over 5 to 6 pounds of boost, those will pop open, car will get super loud and go a little faster. So we'll have those on there. I took the Terminator X Max out of it, and putting in a Dominator. What else? That way we can get on an NTK wideband sensor so that it reads a lot more accurately, because this is a nicer combination than our junkyard 5.3s that have been in it and 6.0s. So I want the most accurate control I can get, and I feel that the Terminator is great if you're running your combination at like 70% of max. But if you're gonna run everything to the max or over, I think you need a little bit better system, whether it be a FT600, Dominator, something similar. You know, I can take some pretty good stuff. So we've also been working on some more weight loss of this car. One of the simple things being a little battery. So we put in a Power Sports battery, lithium guy. I think it's like 8 pounds. So instead of carrying a 40-something pound lead acid battery in the back of the car, I've got a little battery up here. So it's in factory location, so no kill switch required. And the power cables are gonna be super small because it goes from here to there, about 6 to 7 inches long. So way less weight. For power brakes and foot braking, I got a vacuum pump, and that was in the engine bay before. So that's down here on the frame rail too. Get it out of the way. So trying to remove some of the clutter from the engine bay. Let's see what else. I guess I can drop the car down. Yeah. So in the interest of more weight loss, and since we're going to be on E85 and not methanol, there wasn't a need to do the BTR Trinity intake on the car, because that is actually 18.2 pounds heavier than the factory LS7. And if we can strip some of this atrocious red paint, which is also gold underneath that and a gray underneath that, I bought it used. I don't know why they're colored. But that guy is a little over 18 pounds lighter. And it pulls 7,000 RPMs on a you know, factory car. So why not this? I did have this car set up with it lowered enough to put a Trailblazer SS intake on, but unfortunately you can't buy a LS7 port truck intake, or I'd have one on it. So for now, the BTR Trinity from the Firebird project will rest until I have a need for it again. So this one, I think this will get it done. I've got some different valve covers that don't have my burn down tubes on, because I don't think we need anything that extreme on E85 motors. So I'll have my Mighty Mouse catch can set up back over here again. And that's nice, because then it recirculates and sucks everything down. That way when we street drive this, you don't get any oil vapor smell when driving down the road. And it keeps the oil nice and clean, because it's constantly got a vacuum on it when you're not in boost. Then when you go into boost, Mighty Mouse has a cool little valve that shuts off manifold pressure of the can, and then the little rubber flapper in it comes up out of the filter and then ventilates. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this guy. Yeah, this guy works pretty good. I like it. Keeps oil leaks down. Keeps everything nice and clean. Pretty nice, pretty handy. So, since we're also not doing methanol right this second, I don't have to have the balancer hub with the HDT drive on it, which is what the Motion Raceworks pump drive setup is all set up for. This is the pump I was using on this motor in the race car, because ideally what I wanted was 2 completely separate fuel systems that were ready to go, stay bolted to the motor or close vicinity of, and we didn't have any like reclocking or any switching around to do between the 2 combinations. And then I know that one day the urge will be there to put this on methanol and turn it up to 11 and let it eat. So the only bad thing though is I got to change a couple pieces on that, and then I'll have to end up mounting that to a mandrel on the front of the crankshaft, which is this guy. Yeah, this guy. This is what I used to use on my turbo LS builds in that car, or in the race car. So that'll bolt in here. Obviously I'll need a different bolt. I'll need an Allen head bolt, but that goes there, and then we'll drive off the front of that for the fuel pump. And the fuel pump really doesn't take any horsepower to drive at all, so I don't think it'll be much stress at all on that drive. So I'm not concerned of it being too far forward and pulling the crankshaft over or flexing any of that. So what else we got to do? We did move the AC condenser forward. That's still in here because this is the radiator where it ends, and then the AC condenser's here. So I've got to make some extensions for our hard lines to go to the AC, and then I'll have a training cooler up here, and that's a pretty wild angle on the radiator here. So normally this piece is like right back here, but to make room for the Pro Charger and volute, I really wanted to keep a full-size radiator in here. So we did that. I think I'm going to block off that fan hole, and luckily it's wintertime, so I won't have to worry too much about AC or try and keep the motor cool, but I want to get everything on there and functioning, because I do think that's what really separates a daily driver car from the rest of the field. Is if it came with it, it needs to have it. So I want to make sure mine's on there and working. And I've got a bigger single fan I can put on here. But if we have any issues with this Pro Charger system, or if we have an air crankshaft drive issue, anything like that, then the next step is to get creative and put a crank drive system on it, like what's on the race car with the big block. So everything will stack on the crankshaft, and instead of a belt, we'll have gear to gear. So I like this. Because, I mean, it's crankshaft, drive hub, step up ratio, power takeoff, pulley area. So you can run alternator in this area or fuel pump. So our fuel pump driven off that. And then you have the charger. So that is what probably needs to be on the car. And really, I don't think there's much of a downside to it. I thought about on the drag and drive stuff if we actually did one of those races, or if we actually drove the car a bunch more on the street. But I mean, really everything in that system is designed to handle the mileage and time on it. So I think that'll, if anything goes wrong with this again, that's what we'll do. Because I mean, it takes all the side load off of everything. Side load off the crankshaft, side load off of the drive hub. It's just a lot more efficient way to drive things. So let's see. So yeah, our big intercooler will sit right here, and we're gonna see how far we can go with factory fuel line. So we've already made 1,000 horsepower with factory 3/8 feed line, which I can hardly see, but it's still down there. Then we have a Wix fuel filter on the car. There's factory replacement one, so kind of being a dummy about that, but I've quite enjoyed seeing how far we can push this system. So we've got dual 450s in the tank, a true boost booster pump on those that increases the voltage on it when it goes into boost, and then factory fuel lines, and then a little regulator, and 6AN plumbing on the intake manifold. And last time we had this motor in the car, it was turbocharged, and yeah, made just over 1,000 wheel, and it did not have any signs of fuel pressure loss or any lean holes. So we're gonna try it on the blower. I mean, I think it's gonna be really close. So we'll see. That'll kind of give us a judge on if we do start running out of fuel volume. It'll kind of tell us how much parasitic loss we have that blower. So, which I feel is about 150 horsepower, 150 horsepower. So is that gonna make a difference in our fuel system delivery? Maybe. We can find a limit of it? Maybe. So we'll see. What else we got going on? Elvira is 4L80 equipped, so it does have overdrive and a lockup converter. And then let's see what's going on in the interior. Interior is pretty trashed right now. Yeah, we got all the interior out of it. So we've been hunting for weight to take out of it, and we've gotten some out. We've put some back in, like this radio pod here. It's kind of hard to see because it's so dark in here right now, but everybody knows these things usually get brittle and break and stuff like that. And I didn't realize Hawk Motorsports had replacement ones out now, so we actually bolted in a whole new radio caddy there. So I'm pretty excited. Now the radio may not fly out of the center console area and hit the shifter. That'd be kind of cool. So we got some rewiring to do in there. Yeah, for the Dominator, because there's a couple things that switch, and then there's some things we want to rewire, because we did have an expansion module that was full on the Holley Terminator X, and we had everything else on the X full. So put the Dominator in, free up some stuff, rewire some things where I want to rewire them, because with the Terminator you can only do ground trigger outputs, and with the Dominator you can do several things. So that'll be nice. Get a couple more things automated. Oh, what else I want to talk about on this bad girl? That's getting pretty close to it. Yeah, my goal is, I mean, H-Town is really the main goal at the end of the month for this car. And getting her down there for daily driver, that may be it. I might keep myself a little light on scheduling and do just small tire with that one. It says small tire and big tire, and I like to put this one in daily. That's my, I think, my minimum goal. What I really want to do is take this car to Halloween Havoc the weekend before H-Town and do hard tire with it. And I think there's another class I can put it in, but that's what I really like to do, is take this car to Halloween Havoc and put it in hard tire. And I think they have a daily driver class or some other kind of true street class. I like to do that with her. So I think that'd be pretty cool. Versus, and that car will be in small tire at Halloween Havoc. Might do big tire. I don't know. The double entry stuff's so hard. It's so difficult to get that thing cooled back down because it has no cooling system on it. And you're just constantly moving. And that's what worries me about trying to do that in two classes and this in a class, is it's just so much to do. Because I mean, you really need to be in the lanes all times. Like really, we'd almost have to see if we could pit in the lanes. That way we could just jump from one car to the other and save that 5-10 minutes of pushing up just to get the cars ready. So seems a little much to try to do. I really want to try it, but it's probably going to wear me out too much. So, and then both cars will fail, and then what was the point? So I might have to ring it in a bit on my expectations and what I want to try to accomplish. But I think we got a pretty good chance at least getting this one to H-Town for the year. And then we've got a local race the weekend after H-Town, I believe. Flying H, they're doing a no prep that Wyco Racing's put on up here. They're going to have small tire, which is 28-10-5, smaller tire, which is a 26-inch class, and then I think a 650 index, 750 index, and then I think something else. I don't know what other class they got, but I think there is a True Street class. So maybe get this out there and drop it in a True Street, and maybe do True Street small tire. Oh, that'd be pretty cool. So maybe do that. So I'd like to get Elvira out 1 or 2 more times this year. Poor girl's been sitting quite a while. So there is another part that I've been waiting on that I'm still waiting on. Been waiting on for a few months. So it goes in between the motor and the transmission, and the flex plate goes in between those. So once we have that, then the car will actually run. But until then, it's kind of been on the back burner because other than that, it's an engine run stand at this time. If we get it running, you could have it all there and fire it up and make whooshy noises and loud rumbles, but it wouldn't drive the transmission or drive the axle. So we need something in between there. So this is a cool looking setup though. I think it's neat. Big old Pro Charger hanging out down there. I mean, this would be a really big Pro Charger, being an F1X. I mean, it's really big for a lot of people. But when you're manhandling these F3s and F4s all the time, it's kind of like, it's a little baby guy. And then you get a P1X in here, and it's like, look at this little guy. He's just so cute. So, kind of funny. Looking around, see if there's anything else I've kind of missed over the last few weeks from being in here. We really haven't done an interview in the shop in a minute. Yeah, not a whole lot's changing here. You know, just shuffling stuff around, working on the cars as we can. What's the race car got left to do? Since we're setting this one up for yellow belly. We're going to slow down. We're going to go with the 121. We're going to put a 160 drive gear set in it. I think my rear springs are getting tired, so I'm going to put new rear springs on it. I had a shock adjustment screw and adjusting knob come off, or it was just sitting there with no screw in it, so I took that off last weekend so I wouldn't lose it. The windshield in the heat last weekend buckled, and the retainment glue lost contact hold over almost the whole top of the windshield. So we're going to put screws in for that and screw the front window in so it doesn't happen again. Talked about doing a CO2 beam tripper. Megan really thinks I should bring it back, so I doubt I'll put that on there immediately. Big red button. We use a big red button for our starter button, and we had some starter issues, and the car actually didn't want to start to get out of the trailer this week, so we gotta fix that. Let's see, trailer axles, they need to be lubricated. We're at our 15,000 mile mark, so I want to lube our trailer axles, pop them apart, inspect bearings, and then need to almost rotate the tires on the thing. So we got traveling across country. You hit so many potholes and separations in the road and stuff like that. It just beats the living crap out of everything. It really sucks. So I think I'm going to try to bend the trailer axles back a little bit, because we're starting to wear the inside corners really fast on the passenger side. And if I can, I want to dismount all my tires and move them to different positions on the trailer to help, help trailer tire life. So I've tried getting away from the Chinese trailer tires on there and start running name brand Goodyears. And they're so much more expensive, but they do last for a while, and I don't really worry about them. Knock on wood here. I haven't had a Goodyear tire come apart on me yet. Well, on the trailer. On the truck, yes. On the trailer, no. So they also have a high speed rating. So if I need to boogie at 85 miles per hour down the road, I can do it and set the cruise and run for hours like that and not worry about it. So, okay, well, it sounds like our Sunday makeup tunes here. I'm gonna go get to work. On a Sunday.
Hey. Almost fast racing on YouTube, guys. Best tuner in the town, man. Hey, this thing is amazing. It made great power. We had a lot of fun today. Little ups and downs, but it was really fun, man. And like I said, man, this thing is, she's an animal. So we gonna take care of business on the streets. Y'all see me around, man, and we gonna get to it, guys. Y'all have a great day.
856 wheel horsepower with cam, Pro Charger, D1X Pro Charger, E85. It's a lot of fun. And it's obviously a automatic. And that's full exhaust. Well, that was fun. Hitting home.